Welcome to the Women and Child Protection Unit eModule. I am Dr. Margarita Fabella, Coordinator of the Women and Child Protection Unit, Cardinal Santos Medical Center. This module will cover child protection. The goal of this module is to guide you into becoming a child protection advocate and to know what to do when you suspect child maltreatment. At the end of the module, you will understand the indicators of child maltreatment. You will be familiar with the types of abuses. You will be introduced to the Republic Act 7610, or the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination. You will learn how to make a referral and where to make a referral. You will understand the role of the Women and Child Protection Unit of our institution. The National Baseline Study on Violence Against Children is the first and only nationwide study conducted in 2016 across all 17 regions of the Philippines. This was led by the Council for the Welfare of Children and United Nations Children's Fund with their partners from government agencies and non-government organizations. This study showed that 1 in every 3 children experienced physical violence, and 1 in every 5 below 18 years old answered experiencing sexual violence with a grown-up. Maltreatment is often interchangeable with abuse. Maltreatment is defined as all types of abuse that causes actual or potential harm to the child while under the care of a responsible, trusted adult. Throughout this module, reference will be made to indicators of child maltreatment. It is important to remember that indicators are considered red flags. They are not always definitive signs that maltreatment is occurring. Listed here are common behaviors based on developmental stages and abilities, or exposure to environmental stressors that children are exposed to. It is important to remember that indicators are considered red flags. They are not always definitive signs that maltreatment is occurring. Common physical indicators of abuse are suspicious wounds and bruises. Common physical indicators of sexual abuse are unexplained genital injury, signs and symptoms of urinary tract infection, sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy, and the presence of sperm anywhere in the body of a child. Let us discuss the types of abuses. What is emotional abuse? Emotional abuse is a pattern of verbal assault against the child which is destructive to the child's self-esteem. Emotional abuse is constant and recurring. Common abuses are criticizing a child for developmentally normal behavior, like a toddler wetting her pants. Setting unrealistic expectations. Belittling or shaming a child, intentionally embarrassing him in public or calling him names. Blaming the child for things over which the child has no control. Consistently favoring one child over another, like giving special gifts or attention to one and not the other. Withholding love and affection. Terrorizing the child by doing things like destroying his possessions or toys, or even torturing or killing his pet. Isolating the child by preventing the child from forming friendships and supportive relationships. Emotional abuse can be one of the most damaging forms of abuse. Physical abuse is non-accidental serious injuries or injury to a child. It is further characterized by cruel or grossly inappropriate use of cruel devices to modify the child's behavior. When physical injuries occur, one should ask, does the history given by the parent or guardian explain how the injury occurred? Injuries are inevitable in children. When trying to determine if an injury is suspicious, consider the following things. 1. Children generally move in a forward motion, resulting in injuries on the front of their bodies. For example, a child who falls is more likely to scrape the front of her hands than the back of her hands. 2. Children who accidentally injure themselves through play or developmentally appropriate exploration tend to injure the bony parts of their bodies, such as the forehead, nose, chin, palms, knees, or elbows. 3. Children tend to fall to one side or the other. When you see similar markings on both sides of the body, there is often high probability that this injury is suspicious. An example of this would be bruises across the back of both legs. 4. Be aware of common childhood illnesses and birthmarks that have physical indicators. Birthmarks like Mongolian spots can be mistaken for bruises. These are percentage of accidental versus suspicious injuries. Immersion burns, which result from a child being submerged into hot liquid, are always highly suspicious. Immersion burns appear sock-like or glove-like in shape. Pattern burns include those resulting from cigarette butts, irons, and other heated objects. Rope burns are a high cause for suspicion. Burns that are accidental have a different appearance. If you see burns in addition to bruises or other physical injuries, there is high reason to suspect child maltreatment. Abusive head trauma, formerly known as the shaken baby syndrome, is due to the weakness of neck muscles relative to the size of the baby's head, and it only takes a few seconds of strong shaking to cause serious damage to a child. The indicators of abusive head trauma may include breathing difficulties, poor sucking or swallowing, lethargy, unequal pupil size, inability to lift the head or track movement. Long-term shaking can cause blindness, seizures, learning disabilities, physical disabilities, and even death. Abusive head trauma is an emergency. Child neglect is failure of a parent or legal guardian to provide, for reasons other than poverty, adequate food, clothing, shelter, basic education, or medical care so as to seriously endanger the physical, mental, social, and emotional growth and development of the child. Each child has his basic rights. A child has the right to shelter, to basic medical treatment and immunization, to education, just to name a few. Each child has the right to be loved, to be disciplined within the norms, and treated as a person with respect and emotional needs. All these are keys in a cohesive family to which a child belongs to. Hence, when these are not met by the parents or guardians who have the resources to provide for such necessities, then this is a case of neglect. Sexual abuse is the employment, use, persuasion, inducement, enticement, or coercion of a child to engage in or assist another person to engage in sexual intercourse or lasciviousness conduct, or the molestation or prostitution, or the commission of incestuous acts on a child. Sexual abuse involves acts in which an adult uses a child for sexual gratification. It is of note that sexual abuse does not necessarily need penetration. Fondling and or oral genital contact fall under sexual abuse. Child exploitation and discrimination refers to child prostitution and other sexual abuse, child trafficking, obscene publications and indecent shows, other acts of abuses, circumstances which threaten or endanger the survival and normal development of children fall under child exploitation and discrimination. In summary, we have gone through the types of abuses on children: emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, child neglect, child exploitation, and discrimination. So, how then do we protect our children? In the Philippines, the Republic Act 7610 is a law specifically designed for the special protection of children against abuse, exploitation, and discrimination. RA 7610 states that a child is one who is below 18 years of age or who is over 18 years of age, but who cannot take care of himself fully because of a physical or mental disability or condition. Covered within this definition are those above 18 years old who do not have the mental capacity to protect themselves like adults. Under this law, who are required to report a case of child abuse? The following must report child abuse cases: the head of a public or private hospital, medical clinic, or similar institution, as well as the physician and nurse who attended to the needs of the abused child. Teachers and administrators of public schools, parole and probation officers, government lawyers, law enforcement officers, barangay officials, correction officers such as jail guards, other government official and employees who work in dealing with children. Furthermore, any person may report orally or in writing a case of child abuse, neglect, or exploitation to the following concerned agencies: Department of Social Welfare and Development, Commission on Human Rights, Local Social Welfare and Development Office of the municipality, city, or province, Philippine National Police, National Bureau of Investigation, or other law enforcement agencies, punong barangay, barangay kagawad or tribal leader, any member of the Barangay Council for the Protection of Children, Barangay Help Desk Office, or Violence Against Women Help Desk Office. It is stressed that any person who reports a case of child abuse shall be assured of confidentiality and anonymity, and is free from any civil and administrative liability. Why should I report a suspicious abuse case? You should, because it comes with your professional responsibility to keep everyone safe. It is your moral obligation to keep all children safe. The effect of chronic, persistent, increasingly severity of abuse experienced by a child, especially during the early years of brain development, will impact him or her as an adolescent and as an adult if no protective factors are set in place. If you suspect maltreatment or abuse, refer to the nearest WCPU. When you refer, know that you don't have to prove there is maltreatment. The WCPU will do the medical examination and interpret the medical findings in the context of the medical history and physical examination. It is the judge who will determine the presence or absence of abuse based on evidence presented. Does Cardinal Santos Medical Center have a WCPU? Yes, we do. The WCPU of our hospital is a level 1 WCPU. It is composed of a trained physician and a trained social worker on women and child protection. It is located on the second floor, Annex Ward. The CSMC WCPU is a member of the Child Protection Network. Our institution is one of only 114 WCPUs in the Philippines, one of 23 in NCR, and the first non-teaching private hospital with a WCPU. As part of the Child Protection Network, we offer a safe place for women and children. The Child Protection Network is a non-government organization with expertise on the prevention and treatment of child abuse. All WCPUs in the country follow a standard protocol with a goal to avoid re-traumatization. What happens at the WCPU? This shows the role of the trained personnel. As a level 1 WCPU, our role is to give the needed medical attention to the victim. Any specialty referrals are also made depending on the assessment of the child. The medical legal certificate churned out from the WCPU is only released to the local enforcement officer or upon the request of the court. The CSMC trained social worker has the responsibility of reporting the case to the San Juan Social Welfare Office. The San Juan local social worker of the city will work with the family of the child to process the needed interventions to increase the child's protective factors. The social worker will also assist in filing charges if the family would like to file these charges, and also to help the child in court. The WCPU can also be reached via these hotlines and email. In summary, you have the tools to watch out for the red flag indicators of maltreatment. You are familiar with the types of abuses, namely emotional, physical, sexual abuse, child neglect, exploitation, and discrimination against children. You know that we have a responsibility to protect the Filipino child via the Republic Act 7610. also known as the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination. You are aware on where and how to refer. Through the CSMC WCPU, we offer a safe haven for our community. Thank you.